part of your hand, you're using your elbow, and it's up against your body, but you have to have all those angles in order to, and you have to be able to feel. I've had a million people over my career ask me, well, how come you don't wear gloves? But you can't. You have to be able to feel what you're doing.
Does it create a sharp edge when you slice it?
Feel of it. It's oh yeah, it's razor sharp. Yeah, I got a few cuts already. I think I had Band-Aids there the other day. Once you peel that bark off the stalk, then you have to come back to each one of these joints and notch these little things that come out from the joint. If you don't do this process whenever you're weaving, it'll catch and you can't pull your weaves tight. So it takes a whole lot just to get one straw.
How many straws does it take to make a basket?
It depends on the size of the basket. So the big burden basket I have over there, it took 500 straws to make it. And it took me almost 2 weeks of doing this process to get enough straws to make that basket. Little baskets like that, you can do this for a couple hours and have enough straws to do it. But it takes a few days. You can't weave with green cane. It's going to shrink up. If you can weave with it, but you're going to have big gaps and holes in your weave. So you have to let it do the natural shrinking.
How long does it shrink for?
Just a couple of days, and especially if you take it outside and let the sun dry it, bring it back in, bring it back out, do that a couple of days, and it's not going to shrink anymore. And this, I'm knocking these little insides off because when I'm holding it like that, it's easier on my hands. If it's got a prong sticking out, I'm going to have, and it gets sore after a while. Just make a little cut across the top of it, and it pops up. And see how my teacher told me whenever I started learning from him that if you're going to be successful at this, you have to be able to be intimate with the cane. I didn't understand that concept at first. And I'm not slicing through these joints, I'm popping them loose. So I'm just prying up like that. And this bottom part peeled off a little thick, so I can just peel it again, or I can just shave it down. And it really does take a lot of practice to get efficient like this. When I first learned, he came and showed me this process. I knew I wanted to be a basket weaver when I was 15 years old, and he showed me how to split and peel, and he's like, whenever you get 100 straws that are the same consistency and whatever, call me and I'll come back. It took me a year to do this. I got a lot of cuts. I had stitches one time because I cut my finger to the bone.
Oh no.
But I didn't give up.
What made you want to do baskets? What made you not give up?
Well, I grew up with, my grandparents helped to raise me, and they were full-blooded Choctaw people that didn't even hardly speak English language. But my grandfather was a storyteller and a medicine man, and he told stories about, as when he was growing up and he was a young man, one of his first jobs was to accompany the basket weavers in the tribe to the cane breaks, and he would hunt and fish while they would sit and split and peel cane. And there were some funny stories in there. One day he walked into the camp with some bullfrogs. We normally didn't eat frogs, but he threw the frogs down in front of the aunties and, well, this is what's for dinner. And they were just like, oh no, you're not coming back with us no more. We're not eating frogs for dinner. So, yeah, and other stories that he told, you know, they used to weave 2 of each style of basket, and they would trade them to merchants and other people for goods that they needed to help their family to survive. And that was their only contribution to help their family to survive, was weaving baskets. And because they weren't allowed to work outside of the home in those days, you know, and it just inspired me, like, you know, regardless of the circumstances, these women found a way to get cloth to make clothing, get seeds for their gardens, sugar and flour for their meals, and this is what they did to do it. So.
Were basket makers in our tribe traditionally men or women or both?
Both, yeah. The last basket weavers in my tribe died 60 years before I was ever born. So there were no basket weavers left whenever I came along. And our chief of our tribe at that time had met Mr. Tom Colvin, and he did a couple of baskets with him, and then he invited him up to our tribe when I was 15 years old to do a basket weaving class. And I knew, just right then, I was like, yes, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
So Tom taught you to make baskets?
He did.
Wow.
And he taught me the traditional way. He was taught by a full-blooded Choctaw lady from Bayou Lacombe, and Tom taught me the same way, and it was very frustrating the way he taught me. He would show you, and then he would just like, okay, you do it. You know, he didn't elaborate on anything until after you made a mistake, and then he would point your mistakes out or try to tell you, you know, something, and I would be like, I would get really angry at him sometimes. I was like, why didn't you tell me that before? But you have to learn yourself from trial and error on some things, and I learned over the years that even though a basket looks just perfect, there's no such thing as a perfect basket. There's always some little flaw or some little misweave or something in every basket. That's what makes it precious.
Gives it a soul.
So they break sometimes like that, but these little straws, you make little baskets, or you use them for splicing.
So the straws won't really dry out and get brittle when you can't use them. How long can you store the straws?
Years. Whenever you're weaving, you're always going to be spraying or sprinkling water on them. It makes them pliable and also dulls the edges so they don't cut you as bad. So it takes this cane like 5 to 7 years of growing before you can harvest it. And it gets dirty, especially nowadays if it's growing close to a highway or whatever. I've noticed over the years car exhaust, the fumes will gather up on it. I like to go to a creek, a sandy creek, because that was the traditional way they cleaned it. Handfuls of sand, it's an abrasive, and they would up and down and just rinse it in the creek, and it's perfect. Nowadays, convenience, but you can see how filthy it is, and you're going to get cut doing this, and it's better to get cut with something clean than with something like that. Sometimes whenever you open up a piece of cane, there'll be some black mildew fungus that grows on the inside of it. They used to use that to put on their arrows, and when they went into battle, serious battle, that they were killing people, they would hit them with it and they would die not from the wound, but because of that black fungus caused an infection, and there was no antibiotics.
Wow.
Just think of the first
Genius. They slept good that night. They did something.
Well, anybody is welcome to try this.
You made it so attractive.
Deadly fungus.
Biological warfare.
It is all true. I've been using this for 40 years.
It shows.
Yes, that's how sharp the canes are.
Wow.
The canes are also edible. It was part of our food that we did. When they're really young, they come up about that tall. You just snap them off at the ground and they taste just like celery. They crunch just like celery.
Do you change the width that you make for different baskets, or do you try to keep the same like width of the piece for all?
Do what now?
The width. So like how wide your strip of cane is. Is that the same for like every kind of basket that
The
you
cane is going to tell you how it wants to, the size it wants to come out. You have no control over that. You do this process. You're going to have some wider pieces. You're going to have some thinner pieces. So you determine then if you want to use like all wide pieces, then you have to collect over time those wide pieces or the thinner pieces. If it's really wide, you can split them again and make thinner pieces.
Okay. When you gather cane, do you think about the basket you're trying to make, or do you think about what canes ready are available?
I have a very intimate thing when I gather cane. I talk to it, it talks to me, and that's just it. I don't think about baskets when I'm gathering it. I'm looking at it and, whether it's at the right maturity for me to cut. If not, then I'm going to leave it and go on to another one. But mostly like being out in the environment where it grows, it's, really peaceful thing for me to harvest cane. It is. That's where people give up. They want to slice through those joints instead of popping them up.
My mama tried to teach me. I couldn't do that one.
Yeah. That's what happens to all of my students. I taught about a class about 3 years ago, and I did get about 3 people that could learn how to split and peel. They couldn't do the weaving part, but they could do this part. So we're going to start doing a collaboration, a joint effort, where I can get people that enjoy doing this part and can do this part, and then the other people that do the weaving.
She's always said you're not going to learn how to weave until you perfect that one.
That's right. You have to be able to process your material before you can weave.
So I never did learn. I would imagine that would be part of the process of the intimacy with the basket.
Oh yeah.
Doing it from start to
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every basket I've ever done, they're just like my children.
yeah. And like you said, it speaks to you.
It does.
And you know that shows through because when you go to buy a basket and you touch it, that basket talks to you.
It does.
So where are you out of?
Jena Band of Choctaw.
And you teach this?
I do. But nobody wants to learn.
Who wants to learn?
I've been trying.
Oh yeah?
I was learning.